I want you to picture a chrysalis. You know, we're all taught in grade school that it's this magical sleeping bag where a caterpillar takes a nap and wakes up as a butterfly. But that is not what happens.
Not at all.
If you were to cut open a chrysalis halfway through the process, you wouldn't find a half caterpillar, half butterfly.
Nope.
You wouldn't see a cute little bug sprouting wings. You would just see soup.
White paste. That's the specific term our sources use today.
Exactly, white paste. The caterpillar literally digests itself. It releases enzymes that dissolve all its own tissues, its muscles, its organs, its brain, until it's just this nutrient-rich goo.
It has to completely unmake itself
Before it can become something else.
It's a violent biological destruction of the self. And that is, I think, the perfect, if slightly horrifying, starting point for the documents we're covering today.
Yeah.
We are looking at the writings of Lifechanyuan and the philosophy of Lifechanyuan.
And I have to say, when I first opened this stack of sources, I really thought we were looking at a standard self-help guide. You know, think positive, manifest your dreams, that sort of thing. But this is, well, this is not that. This is an instruction manual for dissolving your own humanity.
It's radical. And the scope here is just massive. We've got sources ranging from these high-level essays on the physics of the soul and something called the law of gravitation of life, all the way down to a checklist of 51 incredibly specific rules for how to behave on a Tuesday.
But the mission statement, it's consistent through all of it. The goal isn't to be a good person.
No, the goal is to stop being a human being entirely.
Which sounds terrifying. But the text is very, very specific about what you're transforming into. The goal is to alter the non-material structure of life, to go from a human to a super celestial being or a Buddha.
And you can't get there by just, tweaking your current life. The author, Xu Feng, insists on this. You can't just be a caterpillar with better time management skills.
Right. You have to become the paste.
You have to become the paste. Xu Feng writes about actually cutting open a chrysalis and finding that white liquid. He uses it to explain the difference between what he calls quantitative change and qualitative change.
Okay.
Most self-help is quantitative. You get a little faster, maybe a little smarter.
A better caterpillar.
A better caterpillar. But what this text demands is a qualitative change, a complete structural overhaul of your actual life form.
And this brings us to this idea of the program, which I found really, really compelling. The text treats life almost like computer software.
It really does. The argument is that every species runs on a specific program. A pig runs on a pig program. It eats slop, it wallows in mud, it sleeps. If you run that program, you are a pig.
Simple enough?
And a human runs on a human program, seeking fame, raising a family, worrying about money.
So even if you are the best human in the world, you donate to charity, you call your grandma every week, you're still just running the human software.
Yeah. Exactly. You're just a high-performing caterpillar. To ascend, to become this super celestial being, you have to uninstall the human program entirely.
And install a new one.
Install the consciousness of what the text calls the greatest creator. And it's adamant that this is not magic. It keeps using the phrase scientific outlook on development.
Yeah, I noticed that it feels like this strange mix of mysticism and a physics textbook.
Because the author views spirituality as a science, it's all cause and effect. He uses this analogy of water dripping on a stone. One drop does nothing.
Right.
That's a quantitative input. But if you have millions and millions of drops over years, eventually the stone breaks. That is the qualitative change.
The miracle.
The miracle. You don't become a celestial being by praying once or having one good day. It takes this massive accumulated buildup of merit and energy to trigger it.
Okay, so let's talk about that energy, because this is where the sources get really technical. They start applying Newton's laws to spirituality. And honestly, when I first read the phrase, the law of gravitation of life, I had to reread it 3 times.
It is a fascinating framework. I mean, we all get gravity in the physical sense. It's what keeps our feet on the ground.
Sure.
But Xu Feng asks, what keeps a soul on the ground? What prevents you from just floating off to these higher dimensions?
And the answer isn't mass, it's debt.
It's debt, correct. But we need to broaden our definition of debt here. It's not just your mortgage, your credit card bill. Those are part of it. It's emotional debt, karmic debt. It's that feeling of owing something to someone.
So if I promise to help a friend move and then I bail on them, that's gravity.
Yes. That guilt, that unfinished business is a physical weight on the soul. The text argues that the force of what you owe other people acts exactly like gravitational pull. It forces you to reincarnate.
Right.
You have to come back to Earth because basically the collection agency is here. You can't leave town until you settle the tab.
Wow. That is such a cynical, but also deeply practical way to look at reincarnation. It's not a reward. It's a court summons.
In this worldview, yes. And this leads directly to the concept of cosmic velocity. This is straight out of rocketry.
I looked up the numbers the text uses just to check the math. The math checks out. To get a satellite to orbit the Earth, it needs to travel at 7.9 kilometers per second. To escape Earth's gravity entirely, to go to Mars or the Moon, you need 11.2 kilometers per second. That's escape velocity.
Right. And the text applies this directly to the soul. It maps out these different worlds, the 1,000-year world, the 10,000-year world, the Elysium world. Each of these is a higher dimension, and each requires a higher velocity of merit to reach. If you don't have enough fuel, which is merit, and you have too much mass, which is debt, you cannot reach escape velocity.
You just fall back to Earth.
You crash back down to the human world every time.
Okay, but this is where I got stuck. Because when the text starts listing what creates the most gravity, what the heaviest iron balls are that chain us to Earth, it points the finger directly at the people we love.
Yes. This is the part that usually gets people.
It says family is the biggest trap.
It does.
Wait, hold on. That goes against literally every evolutionary instinct we have. You're telling me that if I love my kids too much, or I'm too devoted to my parents, I'm heavy. That sounds incredibly cold.
It sounds cold if you look at it through the human program.
Yeah.
But look at it through the debt framework. Who do you owe the most to?
I mean, my parents gave me life.
Exactly. You owe them your physical body. That is a massive debt. Who do you owe your daily emotional stability to? Your spouse, your children. The text argues that these intense connections, even the loving ones, are tethers.
So they're gravity.
They are reaction forces. If your main purpose in life is to serve your family, you are structurally bound to the human plane. You can't reach escape velocity because your mass is just too high.
So what are we supposed to do? Just abandon our families, walk out the door?
No, and that's the trap people fall into when reading this. If you just walk out, you create more debt. You create trauma and anger and resentment. That's even heavier gravity.
So what's the solution then?
You have to pay the final farthing. You have to serve them so thoroughly, so completely that you clear the ledger. You fulfill every single obligation to your parents, your spouse, your kids, not out of attachment.
But to finish the transaction.
Yes. You love them to free yourself from them.
That is a wild mental shift. You're basically being the perfect family member so that you can spiritually divorce them.
That's precisely. It's radical detachment disguised as total devotion.
Okay, so let's say I buy into this. I want to clear my death. I want to build up this escape velocity. How do I actually do it? Because the text shifts gears here from this high-level physics to, well, it's like a chore wheel. We need to talk about the 51 rules of elementary self-improvement.
This is the practical application. If the program is the software, these rules are the troubleshooting guide.
And some of them are so specific, like Rule 10, filial piety is the foremost of all virtues, and lechery is the greatest evil.
Which tracks with what we just discussed. Filial piety pays off the debt to your parents. It reduces gravity. Lechery lust, affairs, sexual obsession. It creates new entanglements. It creates new debts to new people. It adds weight.
Okay, then there's Rule 50, no meat.
Yeah.
But the reasoning isn't about cholesterol or, animal rights in the modern sense.
No, it's about vibration. The text argues that when an animal is slaughtered, it experiences terror, resentment, and hatred.
Which I assume is true. I wouldn't be thrilled about it either.
Right. But the text claims that this terror creates actual toxins in the meat. Not just chemical toxins, but spiritual toxins. So if you eat that meat, you are literally ingesting the animal's fear.
You're lowering your own frequency.
To match the frequency of a terrified, dying creature.
So you're poisoning the white paste before it can even reform.
Exactly. You're trying to run a super celestial program on corrupted hardware.
There are also rules about work that I found surprisingly grounded. Rule 48 and 49, work 8 hours a day and rest on Sundays.
But look at the why. You don't rest on Sunday because God said so. You rest for rejuvenation, and you work 8 hours not to get rich. In fact, wealth is a trap in this system, but to maintain health and vitality.
It's about balance.
It's all about balance. Being lazy disrupts the program, but overworking attaches you to the material world.
Okay, we have to address the elephant in the room, or rather, the frog in the room.
The frog analogy, yes.
This is in the section on how to handle a difficult marriage.
Yeah.
I read this part 3 times because I couldn't believe it was real.
Yeah.
The text gives advice on what to do if your wife is being hysterical or unreasonable.
And what is that advice?
It says, and I'm quoting this, pretend there is an annoying frog croaking beside you.
Just a hilarious image.
It's absurd.
Yeah.
So you're sitting at the dinner table, your spouse is shouting at you about the dishes or something, and you're just supposed to sit there thinking, ribbit.
Yes.
If she wants a divorce, let her go with a smile.
And for the wives, if your husband is incompetent or a dabbler, you just accept it. It sounds like passivity, but it's actually an aggressive form of stoicism.
How is being a doormat aggressive?
Because you aren't doing it for them. You are doing it for you. Remember the physics. Every time you argue back, every time you get angry, you're creating a reaction force.
You're creating gravity.
You're creating gravity.
Right.
By treating the conflict like a croaking frog, just a noise in the environment, you refuse to engage. You refuse to create new debt.
You're protecting your soul garden.
Exactly. The text says negative thoughts attract negative spirits. If you get into a screaming match, you are opening the door for these entities. By ignoring the frog, you keep the door shut. You preserve your escape velocity.
It's brutal, though. It basically says your spouse's feelings are just noise.
It is brutal. But remember, the goal isn't a happy marriage. The goal is to leave humanity behind.
And that leads us to this pivotal moment in the text. Let's say you do all this. You follow the 51 rules. You treat your spouse like an amphibian. You pay your debts. You become the perfect human. What happens next?
You abandon the boat.
This is the raft parable.
Right. It's a concept borrowed from Buddhism, but Wufeng really sharpens it. Imagine you need to cross a raging river. You spend years building a raft. You lash the logs together, that's the 51 rules. You paddle hard, that's the effort. But then you reach the other side. You reach the shore of the higher world. What do you do with the raft?
You leave it. I mean, you can't walk across the land carrying a wooden raft on your back.
Exactly. But the text argues that most people fall in love with the raft. The raft is your religion, it's your moral code, it's your identity as a good person, it's your family role.
So after spending a lifetime perfecting these rules, you just have to dump them.
Yes. The text explicitly says once the deed is done, everything before its completion can be left behind. You follow the rules to build the structure, but you must abandon the structure to become free.
And the definition of freedom here is, well, it's intense. It calls freedom the passport to heaven. But the requirements for this passport are owning nothing, possessing no one, establishing no special relationships.
No special relationships. That's the phrase that always catches everyone.
It really stuck with me. Because special relationships are what make life worth living. My relationship with my best friend, my partner, those are special.
And that specialness is the problem. If you have a special relationship with one person, it implies you have a non-special relationship with everyone else. It creates bias, attachment.
Okay.
The text argues that a super celestial being loves universally. They radiate love like the sun. The sun doesn't shine specially on one flower and ignore the others.
So marriage, friendships, political parties, these are all iron balls.
They're all traps. The text says 99% of people choose the pile with money, fame, and status. But those things require maintenance. If you have a massive house, you have to clean it. If you have a high-status job, you have to defend it.
You're stuck on the river, just paddling the raft forever.
Precisely. The super celestial being travels light. To fly, you can't carry luggage. And that includes the luggage of who you are.
This brings us right back to the caterpillar. The caterpillar has to die. It can't just be a flying caterpillar. It has to become something else entirely.
And to do that, it has to tap into a different reality. This is where the sources move from psychology to what I can only call metaphysical technology. We need to talk about visualization and the negative universe.
Yeah, these terms were thrown around a lot. Negative universe. It sounds like something from a sci-fi movie. What exactly does the text mean by that?
Think of it like a computer system. The physical world, the world we see and touch and eat in, that's the monitor. It's the display.
Right.
But where does the image on the monitor come from?
From the computer tower, the hard drive,
Yeah.
the code.
Exactly. The negative universe is the back-end server. It's the antimatter world or the spiritual blueprint realm. Everything that happens here on the screen has already been written in the code of the negative universe.
So visualization isn't just daydreaming.
No. Daydreaming is just staring at the screen and wishing the picture would change. Visualization, according to Wufeng, is logging into the back-end server and actually rewriting the code.
The text has this crazy story about the Zimbabwe villa. I feel like we have to tell this story because it anchors this really weird concept.
It's a striking anecdote. Zweifing describes sitting in a broken-down situation but closing his eyes and constructing a reality in the negative universe. He visualizes a specific villa, a swimming pool with clear water.
Right.
He visualizes being served a specific type of tea.
And he's not just thinking, I want a house.
Yeah.
He's building it, like, brick by brick in his mind.
Right. And the story goes that years later, he finds himself in Zimbabwe, invited to a friend's home. He walks in and he freezes. It's the villa, it's the pool. He sits down and they serve him the exact tea.
Wow.
He realizes that he is walking through the code he wrote all those years ago.
It's the idea that the white paste of the mind can take any shape.
If you have enough energy. And this brings us to the parallel lines theory.
Okay, my geometry's a little rusty, but parallel lines are defined by the fact that they never touch,
Right.
like train tracks.
In Euclidean geometry, yes. But the text challenges this. It argues that in the unified field theory of the universe, parallel lines, which represent different life paths or destinies, can actually intersect if you change the space-time curvature.
Space-time curvature, that sounds heavy. What does that mean for a normal person?
It refers to something called lateral time. We usually think of time as linear past to future, but the text suggests there's lateral time. Think of it like radio frequencies. You're currently tuned to station 98.5, the Human Struggle Station.
Okay.
Parallel to you right now is station 101.5, the Celestial Abundance Station. They're parallel. They never touch. You can drive forward on 98.5 forever and never hear the music on 101.5.
Unless I change the dial.
Exactly. Changing the dial is the qualitative change. It's the breakdown of the caterpillar. If you change your frequency by clearing debt, by visualization, by abandoning the raft, you essentially jump tracks. You intersect with a reality that was previously mathematically impossible for you to reach.
So you're hacking the geometry of your own life.
That is exactly what it is.
This is a lot. We have gone from caterpillar soup to repaying karmic debts, to treating our spouses like frogs, to clear our soul gardens, to abandoning the raft, and finally hacking the back-end server of the universe to jump timelines.
It is a comprehensive, if slightly overwhelming, operating system for life.
So let's try to synthesize this for everyone listening, because we aren't telling you to go divorce your spouse or move to Zimbabwe. What is the core takeaway here?
I think the takeaway is about the reference frame. The text asks the simple question, what is the scale you measure your life against?
Usually it's our neighbors or Instagram. Do I have as much money as him? Is my house as nice as hers?
Right. That's a human reference frame that keeps you on the human program. But Feng asks, what happens if you change your reference frame to the greatest creator, or just the scale of the entire universe? What happens if you look at your life not as a career path, but as a chrysalis phase?
Suddenly the things stressing you out, the traffic, the arguments, the bills, they aren't problems anymore. They're just the walls of the cocoon.
And your job isn't to decorate the cocoon. Your job is to dissolve, to let go of the rigid identity you've built so you can reform into something lighter.
It forces you to look at your daily frustrations differently. That annoyance at work, that family obligation, it's not just a nuisance, it's gravity.
Right.
And every time you handle it with a grace, you're buying a little bit more fuel. You're inching closer to escape velocity.
Exactly.
So here's the question we want to leave you with today, and it's a tough one. I want you to look at the structures of your life, your job, your relationships, your beliefs, your identity. Imagine they were just a raft, a tool you built to keep your head above water.
The raft served its purpose. It got you this far.
But are you still on the river? Or have you actually reached the shore and you're just too scared to notice? Are you walking around on dry land, carrying a heavy, waterlogged boat on your back, complaining about how heavy life is?
And if you are you brave enough to drop it?
Thanks for diving deep with us today. We'll see you next time.